I touched on it a bit in my video about Stronger Than You parodies, but Undertale is a game that has been massively formative for me as a person. Hell, my username was partly inspired by Papyrus. That being said though, if I were to judge Undertale as a game, there is a lot of room for improvement. The story and characters are phenomenal, but the battle system leaves a lot to be desired. When I see people praising Undertale, they never really talk about the battle system. It's unique, certainly, but it alternates between a walk in the cake and soul-crushingly difficult with no in-between. It's also really annoying because of the random encounters. It was primarily because of the fandom that I became obsessed with the world and characters of Undertale. The gameplay just went entirely unacknowledged in my mind. Naturally, I was excited when Chapter 1 of Deltarune dropped on Halloween of 2018. There wasn't much to Chapter 1, but I still enjoyed it immensely. Then, earlier this year, Toby Fox just shadow dropped the announcement at the end of an Undertale anniversary stream that Deltarune Chapter 2 would come out 2 days later. What? Given my history of Toby Fox's work, I have a lot to say on Deltarune Chapters 1 and 2 now. I'm going to talk about the first 2 chapters of Deltarune, comparing them both to Undertale and each other to explain why I think Deltarune is on track to eclipse Undertale in terms of quality. Deltarune Chapter 1 tightens the pace of combat a lot by adding 2 central mechanics: multiple party members and tension points. I'll cover TP first, since what I have to say on party members plays off of that a lot. TP is granted through defending, attacking, and grazing a bullet on the enemy's turn. This has a slight risk and reward element, as well as inviting resource management with using Ralsei's healing and pacify skills. You also get extra dark dollars when you end the battle with TP left over, so you're always seeing some tangible benefit from good use of this system. This, along with having multiple party members, makes battles go a lot smoother than they did in Undertale. Normal encounters in Undertale always felt slow, especially since the game throws multiple enemies at you at once consistently. There was also the issue that there was no way to avoid random encounters in a pacifist route, while Deltarune has enemies laid out on the field. Ralsei alone being there makes things go a lot smoother because of having multiple turns, and Suze serves to make that pace even better. I'm one of those freaks that really likes turn-based combat, and planning what to do with multiple party members on the field at once is my absolute bread and butter. Each and every boss fight in Deltarune has so much more depth than even the best fights in Undertale did, and I loved it. Chapter 2 also makes some nice, simple additions to the existing system, and somehow makes it even better. First and foremost, small addition here, you get enemy HP bars with a percentage, as well as a brand new Mercy bar. This integrates well with the new recruitment system, as well as making combat a lot smoother because you can assess the impact of an action as it happens, not just on the next turn. This makes boss fights a lot more bearable than they were in Chapter 1 because you can actually get a grasp on what your actions are doing. That was a major fault I found in Jebel's fight, and I'm glad that Spamton Neo didn't have that issue. It made evaluating risk and reward a lot easier. You also get the neat feature of all the enemies you spare joining the town, which makes combat seem like there's a lot more of a point to it. Also, Suze and Ralsei can now act, thank God! This makes the combat go from butter on pancake smooth to recently cleaned high school science class table smooth. This feature doesn't entirely remove the uniqueness of Chris either, because Ralsei and Suze don't get the exact same actions as them most of the time. Chris is also the only one who can initiate the specific actions that use the turns of multiple party members. I also love the dialogue in this scene where you unlock acting with Ralsei and Suze. It just gives me the impression that one of Toby Fox's friends was all like, "Hey Toby, why can't Suze and Ralsei act? It makes combat a lot slower for no discernible reason." And then Toby Fox was like, "That's a good point, actually." Really, the whole battle against Sweet Captain Cakes was really funny. And speaking of funny, Toby Fox's sense of humor is so much better put to use with the specific circumstantial differences between Deltarune and Undertale. First, we actually have a party instead of a single silent protagonist. This gives a lot more opportunity for character interaction, and the funniest moments in Undertale were by far when characters collided. Things like Papyrus have this strength inherently. I'd easily credit that as to why they're some of the most popular characters in the game. Suze and Ralsei have a similar dynamic to the Skelebros, where either one could be the straight man or the crazy one depending on the situation. Second, having party members allows the jokes to have a lot more layers to them. If something weird happens in Undertale, that's it. That's the joke. If something weird happens in Deltarune, though, oftentimes the weird thing is the setup and the punchline is the character's reactions. Third, because we stick with Ralsei and Suze for most of the game, we get to see a lot more development from them than we do for most Undertale characters, which naturally leads to funnier jokes because we know these characters so well. so cool. Essentially, Deltarune keeps the best of what Undertale's humor was and expands on it significantly. It has the strong dialogue we get from character interactions in Undertale, along with the Earthbound-inspired description humor and humorous NPC dialogue. I frankly don't have a lot to say on Deltarune's plot because the game releases episodically and there's still a lot left to go. All I have to say is a bit of praise for Queen. Queen being an active antagonistic force is not only great for comedy, it makes her a lot more threatening than the Spade King was in Chapter 1. He was talked up a lot, but the only thing we saw him do was threaten to kill Lancer, exposit some more about the night, and whatever conclusion you get to his fight. In terms of being an antagonist, he's significantly less than even Asgore. Queen, meanwhile, actually feels like she wants to stop you because she's actively doing it. I think the primary function of this effect is how she's the main antagonistic force here. We have the whole chapter to care about her specifically. We aren't just invested in stopping her because darkness, plot, darkness, and she hurt our friend. We get invested in Queen because of things she herself does. The motivation to stop her is equally about her as it is about Noelle and Birdley. Chapter 2 is about Queen primarily. Meanwhile, Chapter 1 was not even remotely about the Spade King. A small praise I have that's a bit disconnected from everything else is that I like how the weird route emulates old video game rumors. When you look at the steps laid out, it looks like a guide on how to unlock Goku in Melee. It looks like an obtuse, fake secret made up by kids on the playground that has enough deniability that the person trying to do it did it wrong because of the complex steps. I find it likely that how you start the weird route is an homage to this phenomenon. Deltarune Chapter 1 improved on Undertale a ton, and Chapter 2 improved on that still. Continuing the story with incremental improvements in gameplay is clearly leading to a game that will surpass Undertale in every way. Any problems that I could name are likely to be impressed and improved on significantly in later chapters. There's going to be more, and I'm incredibly excited to see where it goes. This video was a fun little breather after my last video. Deltarune and Undertale mean an incredible lot to me, so I'm glad that I took the chance to talk about them. My next video is probably going to be another big one. I've been writing it on and off for a while, and I might be able to see it through to completion soon, I don't know. If you're still listening this far, it would be cool if you checked out some of my other videos and maybe subscribed. I hope to get a new video out soonish, so stay tuned. Until then, I've been Pin, have a wonderful time, and goodbye.